This is the E-commerce Edge podcast with your host, Jason Greenwood. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. I've got another exciting episode lined up for you today, and I would love to welcome Nicolas Bailliache from Estreamly to the pod. Welcome, Nicolas.
Hey, how are you?
I'm very good. We were talking off air that you're originally from France, and now you're in the great state of Georgia in Atlanta, and that's where you call home now.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been there for almost 13 years now. So yeah, definitely call it home.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And before we get into the nitty-gritty of everything that Estreamly does and what the nuts and bolts of the platform are and do, how did you get into this sort of commerce space, this digital commerce, e-commerce, omni-channel space? What sucked you into this love of commerce?
Yeah, so I grew up in a fish family. My parents were entrepreneurs. They were fishmongers, so selling fish on farmers markets in Europe. And for the one that have traveled abroad, you probably have noticed, especially if you're in the US now and have traveled abroad, farmers market are very different in other parts of the world than they are in the US. It's much more vibrant, they're bigger, the store, and people are doing meaningful purchase during those moments. And the reality is, so I grew up in that environment. By the age of 7, I was already helping my parents selling fish on the farmers market and in different places different store that they had. And there's just something really that struck me is the power of the one-to-one selling, or like the one-to-few in some way, where you have an individual talking to someone and really showing the product. And especially if you're passionate, for the entrepreneur out there, I'm sure you have seen that. And for the one that have been on farmers market, there's always a say where when you sell something, and if you hire someone to sell the same product and you're both on the same environment, you will most likely sell twice as more than that person, just because you're more passionate in the product, the in and out, and you can really explain and convey the story. So I grew up in that environment, and since then I've been pretty much all my life in a sales. Initially selling to supermarkets, selling to all broad of component from B2B to B2C to B2B2C, whatever, different products. And through the pandemic, I had made my way to the US. I was working with a company that was selling B2B to a lot of companies here in the US, especially in the food space. And one of the things that I really noticed is it was already hard in Europe, but here in the US, it's extremely hard to get retail space and retail shelf space. And so if you're an entrepreneur or if you're a brand, regardless of the status you have to actually being able to commercialize your products, it's very complex and it's very costly. At the same time, the alternative is going to either marketplaces or going to doing it yourself with your own D2C. But there, and if you do that, the challenge is that the only mean of communication you have is your text and picture that you may use on social or your website. And then if you're lucky, if you have a big product, you have a little bit of packaging you can play with. But it's very challenging. And in a way, I was thinking, and I've seen a lot of awesome product going nowhere, and a lot of crappy product because they were more funded and more connections, being able to be successful. And I really felt that there is probably a way to change that if we can enable people to be at the front and face and telling their story the way they want to tell their story, as opposed to being focused and too narrow on the text and picture. And on that idea, in 2018, I met with my co-founder, someone that is very deep in tech. And the conversation was, how do we bring people at the center of e-com? So we've looked at many different technology. And one day we landed on video and specifically live streaming. And I felt that through the live stream, it's really the closest what you can get from a physical retail experience. And so if you can bridge the gap and make that experience fully shoppable, where the user don't have to leave and can really interact in a multidimensional way with the product as well as with the host, it will really make for a different impact. And with that in mind, we've been building around for the last 3 years, bring on customers, doing tons of testings. It's been a journey and it's been a lot of challenge because the idea was to bring on payment. But that's how we started with this.
Wow, what a journey. And I guess it really speaks to your retail and entrepreneurial background to scratch an itch, so to speak, and think, geez, if we want to tell our story, I come from a family fishmonger background, and for me personally, I come from a a family of business owners and entrepreneurs as well, multi-generational business owners and entrepreneurs. And you're right. I think that one of the biggest challenges, especially smaller entrepreneurs have, SMBs, the small and medium business space in particular, they have a really hard time wearing enough hats within the business because they've got to do everything, right? Oftentimes they got to deliver the service, they got to do the manufacturing, or in your case, catching the fish. They got to get the fish to market. They've got to get the word out that they actually have the product. They've got to set the price of the product that's market competitive, but still allows them to be profitable. They've got a million different things that they have to do. They have to comply with taxes and all other compliance things within their business. There's a million different things that these small and medium business owners that have to do operationally just to run their business. And oftentimes the last thought on their mind is tech, right? And the things that can help them get the word out at scale, particularly across social and other modern sales channels. And all of a sudden they're going, geez, now I've got to become an expert in this too. It all feels a little bit overwhelming when you're running a small and medium-sized business.
Yeah. And to be honest, I think initially we really built this thinking that would be perfect for small business. And as you say very well, considering all the million other things that they have to do, live shopping might not be the right thing for them, especially at this time where it's a nascent market for the US market. However, what we found a really interesting niche for us is mostly around the mid-sized merchants. So those are the merchants that have made their way through. They're maybe on retail, maybe they're not, but they still want to launch new product and they just can't afford or just are not ready to pay the $100,000 to have shelf space for this product to test it out if it's going to work. And social media might be a little too, it's great, but how do you monetize it better? And if it's just an ad play, maybe you have a better product that's going to profit from better ROI and everything. So it's all a balance. And I think that's where video commerce, live stream shopping can really have an impact to get the immediate feedback of those users about this product. Is it going to be a hit? Is it worth continuing investing in this product? Do we need to make some tweaks before getting it to prime time? I think that's one of the value that the mid-sized brands are getting, especially this is an opportunity for, as I say, folks that have some sort of a team, right? If it's a one-person duo, it's going to be just too much. But if you still start to have 1-2 people on marketing, maybe 3, maybe you have already some sort of video strategy and you're trying to augment that by providing technology that can really enhance it, then that's where I think considering a tech platform like Estreamly or some of those other out there can really benefit you. And I will say the benefit not only is on this instant feedback, but there's also this notion of 80% of total internet is on video today. So that's where people are. And I don't know for you, but if you have ever tried to buy something from a video, it's relatively painful, right? So you have to identify the product. Now you have to figure it out.
Google, or you go back to Amazon, you try to find it.
Try to find it, and guess what? Like, it's never the same. And then if you go to Amazon, oh, guess what? Now you have a recommendation of 10 new products, and so you're competing against that. So now the challenge is, okay, which is the one I saw, and then go back. Now, if you have a button that enable you to see it and you continue watching the content, but then exploring the product at the same time, and guess what? You can actually put my digital payment there. Why not? And that's what we see. And as a result, I know a lot of e-com folks say that it's improved conversion rate. But typically someone that do video, what we see is that conversion rate on the low 9% is 3 times whatever your conversion rate is on that platform typically. So it's pretty interesting to get that. And on live stream, it's even higher. So.
Right. And I think you point out a really good point in all that, which is to say that in Asia, live stream shopping has been a thing for a long time, right? My wife is Asian, and look, especially in China in particular, live stream shopping is absolutely massive with Douyin and WeChat and everything else. Live stream shopping has just been a really big deal for a really long time. In North America and also the rest of the world, it has not been. There's been many, what I would say, false starts, right? Many platforms have tried to make live shopping a thing. Instagram's tried to make live shopping a thing, live streaming / shopping a thing, all within the one platform. Facebook's tried it. There's multiple platforms, and it seems TikTok is the one that's getting the closest now, especially with TikTok Shop, etc. They're the ones that feel like they're getting the closest to taking live stream shopping mainstream. Mm-hmm. But there still is quite a lot of friction in that buying process. There's still quite a lot of friction in that buying process. That's what has, I think, harmed the power of live stream shopping in the West, is the additional friction, because 9 times out of 10 you get redirected, say for example from the live stream, you get redirected to a Shopify site or whatever, and you maybe get dumped to the homepage. You might not even get dumped to the product page itself. So then you got to try to find the product, you got to add it to your cart, you got to go to checkout, you still got to put in your payment details if you're not already a Shopify user. And so it's been so much friction introduced into live stream shopping that it feels like we've actually almost put up barriers to it being a success. And it feels like you're trying to address some of those barriers and remove that friction so that it's just as easy and seamless to shop via live stream as it is in Asia. And it feels like you've almost taken a page out of the Chinese book.
Yeah, so I'm glad you say that. I will just correct one thing. With TikTok is definitely doing a really awesome job and really being at the forefront of video commerce, live stream shopping. And they did remove the ability, like the whole experience is in-app now. So there's no such thing as going anymore to a different website or anything. This happened in-app. And let's be honest, right? TikTok was a year and a half ago, or like it's less than a year that's been launched. It's already a $18 billion business.
Yes.
They're really taking it by storm. I won't say the problem, but the downside of TikTok is that TikTok audience and TikTok product that are actually currently working are products that are in the low teen and heavily discounted. So it's almost like having a Temu on steroid, obviously with a little bit higher brand. The brand that are on TikTok are not also some of those must be more premium brands that you will get in a direct to consumer or on other places. And so the reality has been that, yes, TikTok have been crushing it, but unfortunately, or fortunately for us, but unfortunately, it's really been on some of those more smaller brand, which is great for small business, and they're doing tons of work to promote the small business. So that's really awesome. What I'm trying to say here is that if you're a small business and you're considering yourself part of what we were talking earlier in the conversation, where you have to wear so many hats, or you're like, TikTok is awesome for you because they're going to promote your stream, they're going to put you where your users are, and you're going to have sales. The challenge is your product has to be heavily discounted, or you have to have a very AOV to make it work. Now, if you do have a higher AOV, or if you are a little bit more concerned or careful about how you present and everything, that's where a solution like Estreamly can get you there. Because in a way, the way we've built our technology is really removing all those friction points that you're talking about, but making it where you own that whole experience. And that experience can work on social media, so Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, your website, your mobile, your SMS, your email. So wherever your video is, now it become like a micro e-commerce website where people can actually transact on it. So that's been the thing, and that's where we've been driving, is really around mid-sized businesses, and that's really an encouragement. I will say still, we're very early, even though TikTok is pushing and doing 18 billion. There's still a lot of people that have not explored video commerce. I was at Commerce Next 3 weeks ago, a super great conference for the one that don't know about it. It's New York. And TikTok was actually doing a talk at the end on the closing, and they were asking, there was like this lady, super passionate, going on stage, everyone clapping and everything. And then so first questions, whoever has done live shopping for their business? And there was 150 executive, literally 2 hands stand, and one was me, which, because obviously that's my job. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, this is very early. So that really surprised me.
Yeah, no question about that. And when you decided to start up this business and this platform technology, because I've had a few other live stream shopping platforms featured on the podcast before, and when you looked out there across the whole range of apps and embeddable technology and standalone technology that's out there, SaaS technology for live stream shopping, when you looked out there, what was it that you saw a gap in the market? Where did you see the gap in the market that you said, no one is doing this the way I think this should be done? I don't think they're meeting the needs of merchants out there in the way that their needs need to be met. So what is it that you brought to the market and you said, hey, this is definitely not red ocean yet because there's so little of it happening out there. It's so early in the piece that we're going to actually help drive the market forward through the way that we do things and the way that we build our technology and we make it accessible to our merchants. You obviously came to market with a very clear vision in mind of what you wanted to achieve and how you wanted to do it. So what was it that triggered this off in you that this is something I've got to do? I have to bring this to market because nobody else is doing it.
So if you look at the solution out there, everything do a redirect to carts, meaning that you have a video, and that video can be placed anywhere. And when you click on the product, depending of how the integration of that technology is, the payment still happen on the direct to consumer. So you redirect it to a direct to consumer. So you're actually leaving the video content to go somewhere else to complete your purchase. What the fundamental difference that we have is we are actually bringing the payment on the video itself. The commerce come to you as opposed to you go to the commerce section. So that's the number one difference. And because we do that, now the video itself become the micro e-commerce and become the point of sales. And wherever that video is, the user will always stay where they are and they'll always be able to shop where they are. So they don't have to make a choice between do I watch content or do I actually purchase and can watch and do both? That's the fundamental difference. And as a result, it enables us to have much deeper social media integration. We have also built our own notification system. And because we can do much deeper social media integration, we can really do something that I think is quite unique. If you think about video commerce and some of these competitors out there, most people, because they do a redirect to cart, it's really great when the user is at the intent. So meaning they're on your website and they already know that they want your product. And so what you're doing is you're just trying to close that sales a little quicker than if that user will never see a piece of content. And so typically, most of those shoppable video you will see out there, they will probably be on a PDP, maybe on the home page, but really with the intention of giving you an information that you probably don't have, or it's an easy way to consume it so you can make a quicker and faster transaction. The challenge is that you're already at the intent. It's great because you're making the purchase shorter, but what the benefit of video commerce and shoppable video and the end-tap benefit is really when people is at the consideration phase in their marketing journey. As marketing journey, depending on how you look at it, I personally look at it in the 3 dimension. So you have the discovery, then you have the consideration, and then intent, and all the way down to purchase. But when you're in consideration, you already have a sense of what the brand is about. You just don't know if that's the right thing for you, and if you might just consider buying that, or if it's something that you will appreciate. And so typically what people are doing on that phase is that, and I'm sure we all have done that, if you're considering purchasing a bike, for instance, it's not that you're going to have an ad of a bike and then you're going to purchase it. You first need to be aware of the brand, and then you want to see, and then you may want to see a video about how your friend is actually biking on it, or how this creator that was doing it in it. So you want to consume more content to see how that bike behave, what people are saying about it, and all that. So you're consuming content. What we're doing with Estreamly, and what you can do quite uniquely, specifically with some of the solution that we have for Instagram, is that you can create shoppable video stories where the user is consuming an organic piece of content on your Instagram, and then you're naturally leading them while they stay on Instagram to another piece of content and another one. But all those secondary and tertiary piece of content that you have driven the user to are fully shoppable, so people can continue exploring. And what you're effectively doing is that you are reducing the time from consideration to purchase. And that is what I think the uniqueness of Estream is able to offer at the moment.
Wow. So does that mean that you guys are actually directly integrated with payment gateways like Stripe, PayPal, etc.,
Yeah.
or are you in ShopPay, for example? Because now Shopify has opened up ShopPay to third-party platforms other than just Shopify. Let's say I run a Shopify D2C website today, and I want to run Shopify video content on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it might be, and maybe even on my own website as an embedded live stream in my own website. Does that mean that you are connecting, say, for example, to Shopify via API to execute that transaction? Your platform's managing the transaction, but it's creating the transaction inside Shopify via API? Or is it simply managing the transaction within your platform, including taking the payment via the payment gateway that's integrated with your platform? What is, I guess, when we get under the bonnet, what is the method or the architecture of the platform? And then secondarily, so we've got the payment piece, and then we have, how do we make it shoppable within the context of, say, an Instagram, where how do we create that shopping experience? Do we have a link in the comments, or what is the mechanism whereby a customer actually executes the transaction?
Yeah, so those are two great, awesome questions. I love that. So the way we think about this is we want to make the video, a micro e-commerce website that is fully managed by the mothership, which is the e-com. And so the way we think about this is everything is through API. So whenever someone add to cart on the video, it's actually adding to cart on your website. Whenever someone is checking product, it's actually, we're surfacing the data of your website, but it's always on the video itself. So even the checkout is through API. And at the moment of payment, what we're doing is we're leveraging the payment infrastructure of that e-com, but we're surfacing it on the video itself. So at the moment we surface, so we have integration with Stripe, we have integration with the Visa network, so we can leverage any kind of, we about 50% of all the acquired in the world. So we really are able to bring on your payment directly on the video. And then for the merchant that are a little bit more complex, like the CBD folks and everything, we're always considering and constantly adding some of those more niche payment providers that enable them to actually be successful based on their own payment infrastructure and what they can do, either through authorize.net or so many things. For instance, the Visa, the way they describe us is we're the closest to a payment gateway on video. So that's really the core fundamental. But the more important is that whatever you're doing on the video, it's reflecting on your e-com, and all the data go back to your e-com. And for the customer, it has to be seamless. It has to be where they don't really understand if they don't have a who am I transacting to? So we're completely white label solution. So even the subdomain of whatever that, if there were to be on the link, the subdomain will be a subdomain of your website. So it's a fully white label solution. You never know that you are at any point interacting with a video that's been made by Estreamly. So that's from the technology's perspective. Now, how do we do it for social media? So Instagram is a good example, for instance. So what we've done is with Instagram, we are monitoring everything that's happening on your handle. So you will connect your handle directly to Estreamly, and then we're monitoring the handle. Once you can create what we call campaign, which is monitoring. So we monitor for certain keywords. And then when someone is activating a campaign, like activating a keyword, so in your post, so imagine you're posting a video about a bike, and then you want to know like how this bike is for, I don't know, in the mountain. And then what happened is that on that bike, maybe it's the person that's creating the content say, hey guys, if you want to see me, I just went back from a trip in the mountains. If you want to see that, hashtag mountain, or if you want to see how he was in the beach, hashtag beach, for instance. And so you will have a certain number of users that's going to do hashtag beach. Some are going to do hashtag mountain, whatever. This is in the comment section of the Instagram, because you can't really have links or anything on. And then once that will happen, the software is going to send them automatically a DM. So it's going to open a channel of communication. So now we will both be connected. We can chat, but alongside, we're sending them a link, that trackable link. And so at the moment, for instance, you see that DM, you're going to receive a notification, you got a DM. It's going to go to your general box. When you click on it, you can actually open that. It will open up in-app browser where you can actually shop.
Embedded browser right from the DM.
There you go. And then you can shop right there, learn about the product, experience the video, go back full screen, and then swipe your content as if you were on TikTok or any other places. But now you're in a fully video experience that is fully owned by you as a merchant, and everything is happening from that user. You know that this person, that's their handle, they click on the link, they watch this product, they add it to cart, they spend so many time. So you can start to understand like where is that user in that journey, and how am I likely to going to close if they are not closing. And guess what? If they add to cart and they start dropping their email on their process, now you not only have an handle from Instagram, but you also have their email, and you'll be able to kick off all your automation and everything for abandoned cart. So that's how on Instagram work.
Okay, so effectively it leverages the DM capability, and effectively by putting in a comment with a specific hashtag, they have authorized you to DM them. That's effectively the auth function, and then you can DM them from there. You open up the dialogue, you present them more content, interactive content, embedded browser-based content, and then from there they can complete and execute the transaction directly within the embedded browser without actually having to leave the embedded browser experience and be redirected to the e-commerce website.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that can be done also for live streaming. So for instance, what we're doing, which is cool for live streaming, is we have this kind of technology, but we're also taking all the chat from all the different platforms. So it's enable you to really, if you're doing a stream, for instance, to see everything across all the platform, everyone who is doing what was they saying. And so you can really monitor everything into one place. So this kind of technology is really unique. It has really those dual benefits of I can monitor what's happening during a stream, but I can also trigger some automation to engage my user and open a channel of communication.
And I'm guessing you can call out a coupon code, or you can do different things during the stream that means that, hey, if you buy during this stream,
it's a fully functioning, it's a fully functioning checkout. So whatever the rules of your own checkout is, that's what's going to be reflected. OUI will have the ability, at the exception of a couple things. There are like some couple weird coupon things like bundles and stuff that we can't yet support, but most of the basic and is supported. We have a client that's doing all their subscription through that. People can directly subscribe right there from the video on their DM, and it's really some really cool functionality you can do.
And as of today, you integrate with Facebook and Instagram. Do you also integrate with YouTube live stream and TikTok live stream and any of these other what are the platforms that you integrate with today? And then I'm guessing that also some brands will embed the live stream within their own website, say on the homepage or from a banner bar or something like that. And then I assume that content can be saved from that live stream and embedded, say, in a product page or something like that from there. So that sometimes you want this content to be evergreen content for that product.
Yeah, so absolutely. So we will do two things, right? We have the shoppable video, which is basically a player that is fully interactive. And so you can have that player on your website, on social media, on your social, as mentioned, with Instagram, creating the story. And so in this case, you just upload video content or you grab content from YouTube or from Instagram quite seamlessly. And then you can put that on your PDP, on your email, SMS, wherever you want. So that's one use case. The second use case is really around the live stream element. And on the live stream, in this case, yes, you can multicast to Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, have the interactivity and shoppability on this platform. We do have the ability to multicast to TikTok, but the shoppability has to be on TikTok because that's the way it is. We would love to figure out a way to integrate directly with TikTok Shop, and so we can make the merchants their life easier by also enabling TikTok Shop. So hopefully one day we will be able to crack that code. We are able to do it with Amazon. And so that's from the live shopping perspective. But if you look at it from a bigger perspective on how people are using it, I think it goes a little bit beyond. So we talked about PDP. One of the use case that we recently had client playing with, and with some success, not everyone, because it's not for everyone, but it's pushing ad directly on the video player. So you're taking the video player and then that's your media that you're pushing for ads. So that has been playing quite a bit of role. And interestingly, this is specifically for the brands that know that their sales cycle are pretty long and that content is an absolute must-have. So if you have a sales cycle that's really long, and today you are not you're pushing more content. So the call to action is another piece of content that's going to get you closer and closer to your consideration phase and toward the intent. Having shoppable video on that process is extremely beneficial. The other use case is we're working with a company in Mexico, actually, that you're probably aware of. They are a retailer and they sell a lot of TVs and bike and a bunch of stuff. And what we are on their retail media side. And so on the retail media, they have over 125,000 digital display across Mexico. And some of this digital display will lead you to a digital interaction. And we are that digital interaction. So from a digital display, if you want to learn more, you can get to a video. And by the way, that video is fully interactive. You can either shop or you can just learn more and get you to so you can really create a video journey. So that's another use case. And then I will say the third use case that we have seen some really interesting thing and that people very often dismisses is the email marketing. So for most brands out there, email marketing might be, especially for digital, maybe like 30% of all their income coming from emails. And so typically an email is a bunch of text and a bunch of picture and product. But sometimes you do want to bring a little bit of pops. And if you're doing a tons of UGC, why not putting that UGC into your email and make it shoppable? And that leaves some really interesting results. And especially if you have good content, because we have autoplay, you may just end up spending 5-10 minutes watching content of that brand without even yourself noticing, because the next video will play. And that leads to great results. So that's the different use case that people are currently playing with video commerce at the moment.
And for situations where you're integrated with a retail media network, Do you leverage embedded QR codes or something like that so that on the displays people can just take a snapshot of it and boom, that redirects them to the interactive video?
Absolutely. Embeddable QR code is definitely one of the way to go. We do have been in conversation with folks that actually have their own display. And if you have a screen, a tactile, how do you call that?
Touch screen?
Touch screen. Thank you. With a touch screen, we can certainly do something. I think it has to make sense also. If you are in a store as a touch screen with payments, something that will make sense. But in this case, maybe it's not so much of a touch screen, but maybe it's like an action of adding to cart, and then that prints some kind of a label, and then you pay at the store. There are some really interesting use case, I think, especially in South America, that are possible with this kind of technology. I don't know. I also have a podcast called the Live E-commerce Podcast, and I had the senior digital lead from Tia Supermercado from Ecuador. And one of the things they're doing, and they have an e-com. And interestingly, the e-com is not so much to sell e-com, like it's accessible, but that's not where they get their sales. They have the e-com as an extension of their own store, physical store, where they have sales associates that are in front of the computer. So you can go as an individual to the store, look at some of the product on the screen with the sales associate, make the purchase, and then they will get you get a coupon that you can just do the checkout directly at the end, the cash register, to further the payments, and then it will get delivered to you. So the transactions still happen in store physically, and the people come in store physically. But I found there's just some really interesting use case about how do you use digital. And I think as people, especially in different countries, and as people explore what that bridge between physical and digital looks like, video could really play an interesting part of that journey, especially interactive video, because at the end of the day, it's another form of content. And that's a form that people love and like.
Are you seeing much uptake in WhatsApp commerce? Are you seeing that as an opportunity at all? Just I know that in the United States, WhatsApp is not that big of a deal yet, but I tell you, in LATAM, Europe, India in particular, WhatsApp, and even here in Mexico, like almost everything is done via WhatsApp. And all of my updates in terms of shipments and updates from Amazon and different retailers, etc., it all comes that they actually assume. It's so funny. You don't tell them that when you put in your cell phone number, you don't tell them that you have a WhatsApp account. They just assume you have a WhatsApp account, and they start sending messages to your WhatsApp account with order updates, shipment updates, payment updates, etc. And so it feels like this is becoming a major commerce channel, particularly in LATAM. And what are your thoughts on that? Because obviously you can do embedded video inside a WhatsApp chat, etc. They've also got WhatsApp payment infrastructure within there that's integrated. Famously, it started out in Brazil, bringing WhatsApp payments to Brazil. I think it was the first country in LATAM that had WhatsApp payments enabled. So it feels like the WhatsApp channel in particular in LATAM is becoming a major sales and marketing channel.
Yeah, and I love you brought that up. This is something that we have been talking quite a bit with my CTO. I actually had someone on our pod that is building a WhatsApp app, and we were just talking about this evolution of WhatsApp and how it's moving. I think WhatsApp is a really profound and interesting channel. I think WhatsApp has the real potential to compete with WeChat and to make what has been so successful, well, WeChat, which is super app. I think WhatsApp needs to be able to, as a brand and as a software developer, I think having more flexibility around what you can do will be quite helpful. But I do think this WhatsApp is a very interesting platform, and it's going to play a major role. It is playing a role in LATAM. I do think that the payments feature that you're talking about, which is coming to Brazil, and I think it's about to be rolled out in Mexico, if it's not rolled out yet, it's going to be very interesting. It has to be seen what can a merchant do on the back end. But I fundamentally agree that WhatsApp has some unique thing. And at the end of the day, we do for live stream. If you just take the live stream, for instance, we have SMS notification for users that are going live. And today, SMS is 40% of all traffic that is coming to a video during a stream, not so much we don't do any of that during a static video, but on a stream, 40% is coming from SMS. And the reality is SMS is super expensive.
It is.
And it is. And why is WhatsApp so popular? It doesn't cost much, right? So it may cost you 5, 10 grand, 15 of your developers to work. And then when it's done, right, it's just running. And WhatsApp is so stable as a platform that the likelihood it's going to crash is relatively low. So it makes it for a really awesome channel. So I'm not surprised that people just don't assume that you have it, especially where platform where WhatsApp is so embedded in the culture, like Latin America and some part of Europe. Not every part of Europe, but especially in the Latino countries, WhatsApp is really big.
Yeah, it's huge. It's bigger than Messenger. It's bigger than FaceTime. It's bigger than any of these other platforms, especially
but
across
WhatsApp
LATAM.
is picking up quite significantly in the US market. I think it's been the lagger, but I do think the Meta folks, they realize that WhatsApp has to be a big player, and they're really pushing hard to make it happen. And there's this virality with WhatsApp, right? Once you're on WhatsApp it's easier for you to create more value by inviting your friend. And you can create groups, and now they have this community thing and all that. And so there's a lot of, there's this element that makes it easier for WhatsApp to grow as well, for that virality aspect.
I think what Facebook could do in North America in particular to make WhatsApp more popular is to make it an option for the communication channel for Facebook Marketplace. I think because at the moment, all communication happens default by Messenger, right? And if you had the option as the seller to say, actually, I want all of my communication around this to come via WhatsApp instead, I think that would promote the usage of the platform significantly.
The only problem, if I was the GM of the Messenger from Facebook, I will never allow this
to happen.
Because
very true. Very good point. Very good point. Listen, Nicolas, this has been a fantastic chat. What is on your radar, I guess, if you were to look out 12, 18 months from a platform development, feature, functionality perspective? What are your customers asking you for today that you don't yet do? Or are there gaps in the market that you see that you don't yet execute on? What's high on your priority list?
I think continuing developing integration, I think it's from a merchant perspective. Today we do Shopify, Magento, BigCommerce. We can take any other of the merchant, but we just don't have the automation that we have as it relates to the ease of the onboarding
plugging
of the
into
product,
the catalog, plugging into the promotions engine, plugging into the checkout, all that stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff. So the payment is not so much a problem because that's solved, but it's really about the push of the order and then getting the product in, and then also adding to carts simultaneously as you do on the video. So getting more integration there, it's definitely a must-have on our product, a roadmap that we're pushing after. There is some opportunity, I think, really going after other social media platform and really being more embedded, always trying to drive to, okay, we have our own video checkout, but the day Facebook start to open up their payment API or things like that, it's like, how do we get into that? Because at the end of the day, the easiest we can make it for that user, the better. But it has to be super seamless from a merchant perspective to manage their own multi-channel strategy. So that's something that is very high on the hope of what we're looking at, and we're constantly looking at what's happening. There are everyone talks about AI. We don't do anything AI-wise, and it's not because it's a goal of us. It's just more because we don't see much of a need. There's one specific use case that we would love to crack down one day, is the ability to take any video and to recognize what the product is through AI and then tag that product directly on that video. I think that has a great amount of potential. It's very costly to do, very challenging, and as a startup, on our roadmap, but that is something that we would love to figure out a way to explore at some point. So from a roadmap perspective,
I think also AI, being able to run AI performance analysis across all the videos across the platform, what style of video, what tone, what keywords, what triggers, what backgrounds, starting to look at what, in bringing an AI layer into the analytics capability of the platform and creating some baseline information and things like that. That feels also, because it can, especially with machine vision, et cetera, there's a lot of things that can be done to analyze data points that human beings are not able to analyze at scale. And so it feels like that would potentially be another really important use case for you guys, is to be able to bring some recommendations and some guidelines and some templates to the table that would be taken from the highest performing videos across your entire platform and across your entire suite of merchants. It feels like bringing AI to that would be some low-hanging fruit as well.
Yeah, that's definitely very interesting. There are solutions out there that are doing that already. There are off-the-shelf solutions that can do that. So at the end, it's all come down to where do you put your priorities on, and And it's not interestingly, that's not has been something that a lot of brands have asked. I think everything toward more, I already have X amount of piece of content, like just to make it easier for me to churn my content because I know how to create content. Tell me how to make that a call to action easily. I think that is where I think the value for AI is at the moment, in my point of view, from an acceleration perspective. If you think about, I was at a conference recently where her name was Molly. I can't remember her last name. I think the CMO of Home Depot. And she was talking about that. I think any given day, Home Depot produce 1,200 pieces of content. So
every single day.
Yeah. And so the reality is like when you're like a content machine like this, I think for you, it's not about, okay, yeah, the production of the content is important, but at this kind of production level, you already have everything in place. I think the ability to make that seamless to transact on, that's where I think you can really leverage AI to make it happen. Because those pieces of content have to be somewhat recognized. What is the product? Where they're going to go? Why all those things in the production of that content. So I think that's where AI personally excites me is once you're at scale, is like how do you get from scale to and shorten the path to close the gap with the call to action.
Yeah, the path to purchase. How can you shorten the path to purchase?
Yeah,
makes absolute sense. Now, how do you guys make your money? You're obviously a SaaS platform. It's an embeddable SaaS platform. Do you have tiers? Is it based on the number of hours? Is it based on a clip of the ticket of the transactions that go through the platform? How do you guys bill? How do you guys make your money?
Yes, we went through many iterations. As a startup, I think we pretty much had every single pricing model that you can think of. And if there is a pricing model we haven't had and you have an idea for us, please send us. We will love to try. But joke apart, right now, what we settle on is we have a yearly subscription that grants you a certain number of impression or live stream minutes. And then you can consume more live stream minutes or more impression by paying by the 1,000, which enable our goal is really, we want to be on par. If you're going to produce heavy content, to be on par with some of those providers out there that are really big in the space in terms of, I will say, distribution of content, but not having to think about developing the interactivity on it. So that's how we thought about this is really, we want to be able to say to you, if you're serious about doing this, it's easier to have a provider like us where you don't have to have your dev team that's going to maintain and do all the technology than just to layering all the technology. And then now you have to have the dev team to figure it out, the whole piece of make it work. Because it's as easy as it sounds, interactive video is still very clunky and it's still a very complicated technology that requires a lot of bandwidth, and there's tons of optimization in every single directions to make an experience interesting for a user on any device, any type of bandwidth, any type of geography.
Yes.
That's where the trick is. So
yeah, there's a lot to it. This is not an easy piece of software. Listen, Nicolas, it's been a great conversation. I've learned a ton. You sound like you're doing some really cool, really cutting edge, groundbreaking stuff, and you're probably slightly ahead of the curve, which is great. It's a great place to be. I think I'd rather be ahead of the curve than behind the curve. But certainly, we need advocates for live stream shopping in our world, and we particularly need it outside of Asia. And the reality is that live stream shopping has conquered Asia. It's very popular, it's very common, it's very normal, and people are also shopping via QR code and making payments via mobile device and mobile app. That's all very common. That stuff is still not everywhere in the Western world yet. And so I think that having advocates for this type of seamless customer experience and in-stream, in-experience purchasing, I think this is a very important role that you're playing in the market. So congratulations on bringing this product and platform and technology to the industry. And really, we can think of live stream shopping as just another channel. And when we think of it as another channel in the channel mix, I think the more channels that a brand can take on easily, seamlessly, with low technical lift and low technical debt, the easier it is for them to de-risk their business model, full stop. Because obviously you want to be everywhere your potential customers are. But it's sometimes hard to be everywhere your potential customers are. And sometimes it's expensive to be wherever your potential customers are. And there's lots of options. There's social, there's marketplace, there's direct to consumer, there's B2B, B2C, D2C. We're talking the channel options out there are nuts. And so the reality is that anything that helps brands adopt new channels quickly, easily, and efficiently, and at relatively low cost, I'm going to be an advocate for that, because I think especially medium and larger businesses, they have lots of options nowadays, and they have their fingers in lots of different pies. And so it's hard to manage all those different pies and to identify what the performance of those channels are and how much investment we should put into it. And it's well done on bringing this and democratizing access to this live shopping experience. So well done. Now, as we come to the end of our time together, this is where I get to flip the script. I get to hand the microphone over to you, let you ask me one question, any question you like. It can be personal or professional. Nicolas from Estreamly, what is your question for me today?
That's an interesting take. I was not ready for that. Okay. Obviously, you are talking to a lot of different perspective from your podcast and from a brand perspective, from a SaaS software perspective and all that. I'm curious to hear your thought on, if you think about today, one of the biggest challenge that the merchants have is really around the cost of acquisition and how do we lower the cost of acquisition. And you're talking about those multi-channel strategy and the fact of having to look at those different channels and be efficient on those. Like, what do you think is the lowest cost of acquisition for merchants and where they should be focusing on in today's day and age?
Good question. Because I work so heavily in the B2B world now, and that's been my focus for the last few years, I think that a lot of direct-to-consumer brands, they are missing out on the opportunity of the wholesale channel. I think, to me, the cost of acquisition and even if you had all the money in the world, even if you could do all the digital marketing in the world, the reality is that you are never going to be able to get your products in front of every single customer in every single market, no matter how much money you spend in terms of direct customer acquisition. Even if you've got physical retail stores, digital stores, etc., you're never going to be able to get in front of all of them. People have their favorite places to buy certain things today. And so the reality is a lot of these D2C brands, and Allbirds is a great example. They've only recently, because they've been forced to, because they're just about ready to go bankrupt, they've been forced to open up wholesale channels where historically they've only ever wanted to be D2C. They were the D2C poster child of brands. And now they're just about ready to go out of business. And now, as a last-ditch effort, they're opening up some wholesale channels internationally. And I think that brands that are manufacturing brands and own their brands, they should really not wait until they're desperate before they start creating wholesale routes to market, because they can get mass distribution. Sure, they're going to have probably slightly lower margins on a gross margin basis. They're probably going to have lower margins in the wholesale channel than the D2C channel. But when you take into account the CAC cost of the D2C channel, now our net margins are probably very similar, actually, at the end of the day. And so I think this is a huge missed opportunity for a lot of brands, is not looking at the wholesale distribution channel as a viable channel for them, because they could go from selling individual items shipped to door to shipping and selling cartons, pallets, and containers. That changes your unit economics dramatically. Plus, from a customer service, support, marketing, distribution perspective, it offloads a lot of those costs to your distribution partners. And so I feel that this is something that doesn't get a lot of attention because D2C is the sexy thing, right? It's the sexy new thing, especially during COVID. All the D2C brands in the world were doing well. As we've gone back and the online TAM has shrunk back to a more normal mean, and still 70 to 80% of all retail transactions happen in physical stores. That's the reality. And so you need to be able to be everywhere your customer is. And I think the wholesale channel is something that a lot of brands just don't consider today. So that would be my top take.
Great. Love it.
Awesome, man. Listen, I think we're going to flip the script, and I think I'm going to hopefully appear on your podcast at some point soon as well. So we'll do a podcast trade here, but I really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing all about Estreamly and where the state of the market is on this whole live stream shopping thing. You're clearly deep in this. You clearly know your stuff. You're clearly passionate about it. So thank you for your time. Can't wait to speak to you again soon. Are you a B2B or D2C e-commerce merchant? Then head over to greenwoodconsulting.net to learn how we can help you scale your business.